This screen lasts for about 5 seconds before the presentation. Hi, I'm Greg Farmer, National Curriculum Manager for Gallopade. Today I want to share with you our curriculum, our materials, tell you a little bit about Gallopade and why we're the best choice for your classroom. A little bit about us. We've been around for over 40 years, providing high quality social studies, state standards based materials. We've published over 10,000 educational books and products, and we support over 1 million students and teachers. Our Florida curriculum is 100% aligned to the next generation Sunshine State standards for social studies. It's flexible with both print and digital resources so you can customize your experience to your classroom. And we have a proven evidence based approach that we'll look at today. The Gallopade curriculum components, what we're going to be breaking down and looking at is the student edition, the teacher's edition, the online platform with the digital course, all of the teaching tools and multimedia resources, as well as grading and reporting, and the pre-built assessments and the item bank. What we use at Gallopade is called it's our evidence-based approach. We kind of call it small bites. And what we do is where we take a chunk of information, we give it to the students, then we stop and have them interact. It's an intentional learning process. We design it for active learning. We want active engagement, active learning, active teaching. It's fully interactive through questioning, exploring, discussion points. All of these things are full of interactive activities. As I said before, it is standards based. It was written with the standards in mind, and it's age appropriate, that it matches what's exactly right and appropriate for the students in your classroom. The process basically that we help you with is preparing and planning, teaching, reinforcing, testing, measuring, and evaluating, and then around again. The goal is for Gallopade to make teaching easier, and that's what we do. The student book, it's not a normal textbook like you'd normally think of. It's not a workbook like you would think of in the past. It's a combination of a textbook and a workbook all into one. It combines all of the activities into one system. It provides a consumable and lasting option that guarantees standard alignment year after year. That's the benefit with Gallopade. When the standards change, so do we. If there's amendments or changes to the standard during the course of your adoption, we adjust and we change to those. We're going to see where each unit starts out with those big questions that anchor that content for all of the activities ahead, and look at tons of primary sources to engage student in thinking like a historian and looking at original artifacts. The student book has lots of student-led supporting activities, and it's really easy to understand these illustrations on grade level. The student book is designed to be a consumable. You get new ones each year for the adoption. They'll come in each year for your students new, so they can use them however they'd like. It's written for the standards with our research-based design, critical thinking activities, ELA integrations. We mentioned the big question, primary sources. It's available in English and in Spanish, and it's adaptable for all learners. The student books are kind of built on that repetitive learning cycle. Like I said, small bites of information that reinforces it. So we're going to give them a bit of information to activate them, and then we're going to give them some sort of reinforcement activity. As you see on the list here, tons of reinforcement activities, everything from analyzing charts and graphs, interpreting historical sources, all the way down to research activities, primary sources, writing prompts, and more. So that's what we do. We give them that bit of information, and then we reinforce it with these activities to support that, to increase recall. Kind of taking a look inside the student book here, as you can see, there's a primary source analysis built in here. There's the excerpt 1 and excerpt 2, and then they engage. Over here on the other side, you're seeing some charts and graphs, and then they engage. That's what we do. We give them that chunk, and then we engage. That helps take it from working memory on into short-term memory, and then further on to long-term memory for improved recall. The expectations are there for the students as well to see, where they can see what those expectations are all along the way. The skill builder activities, as we mentioned before, cover those critical thinking skills that we saw with point of view, analyzing primary sources, problem solution, decision making, all sorts of critical thinking skills. We want to focus on making sure that we teach children not what to think per se, but how to think, how to evaluate things, how to look at things, how to use their own mind for those critical thinking skills. Another bonus is that it covers a lot of your literacy and your ELA standards through our vocabulary, writing prompts, information, fact and opinion, discussing your opinion, author's purpose, point of view. All of these things are built right into the curriculum for that ELA integration. The student ebook is the same content as the student physical book, the student workbook that you have in the physical version. We have a student ebook that's fully interactive. And what I like about that is, for me, one of my number one rules was I never send anything home with a kid I ever expected to see again. So I like that they can take that book and they can go home and they can work on this interactively at home online. They can engage in that way. It's identical to the print, but it also has the ability, you can highlight, you can annotate. It has an interactive table of contents. It has read aloud and translation options, all sorts of accessibility compliant features, as well as it's projectable to be used in the front of the classroom and to work with, say, your smartboard. The teacher's edition. Now, this is your lesson planning all in one. What we like to do is we like to provide you with everything you need to teach for the full school year, to give you every single piece and component that you need so that you're not having to go to other places and pull other resources and grab other things to bring into the lesson. So, what we've done is, in addition to providing all of these resources, we've also given you these lesson planning tools. It's designed by teachers for teachers. That's the way it was made. Everything that you see in here are specific recommendations from teachers that they'd like to see in a teacher's edition. And that's what we did. From our learning objectives and opening activities to instruction and differentiating activities to all of the various resources that are available to you. The planning pages help you kind of begin each lesson in each chapter and sort of look at your goals, your priorities, kind of mark out your timeline and see, what pace you want to follow with this, as well as customized instruction activities and strategies. In the teacher edition, as I mentioned a few things on the last screen there, you're going to see it's going to include your learning objectives, an overview, your learning targets, sample questions for inquiry sparking. It's got a student-friendly definition page for the essential vocabulary. It has tips that help customize the lesson, step-by-step instructions on how to use a variety of resources, how to go through and differentiate, how to go through, as you see, the differentiated learning support, those strategies, how to accelerate, how to remediate. All of those different strategies you're going to find in your teacher's edition to connect with all learning styles. There are additional resources for all sorts of things like remediation, English language learners, project learning, extensions, many more activities to go beyond the book. So it's really puts all of your planning in one location. In there, you saw the alignment guide, the unit opener, and this is just kind of a sample of it there for every unit. These are the pieces that you're going to have in that unit. The alignment guide all the way through the vocab, differentiated lessons. You're going to see in a little bit, we'll look at your curated content board, the review, and even at-home support that's available. With every chapter, it's going to start off with that big question and those learning targets. It's going to give you mini lessons to go through to teach with mini lessons, as well as your teaching tools, the student edition answer key, your vocab builder, interactive chapter review, your study guide, all your formative assessments you're going to find within every chapter in the teacher's edition. Taking a look at it, this is kind of one of the pages here where it's thinking like, where it goes through thinking like a political scientist, thinking like an economist, thinking like a historian, thinking like a geographer. So it gives you additional activities and additional teaching ideas that you can kind of go a little deeper if you'd like to go through and look at these different roles that students could look at, even potential jobs and futures. They can go through and look at these types of things and thinking in that format. That big question that I mentioned looks just like this. You're going to see the big question, and then you're going to see those supporting questions that help you get there. So it's going to give you the big question. It's also going to give you some possible responses to the big question, some possible things students might say. Those supporting questions are all of those pieces that come together piece by piece as they go through the lessons to support that overall big question. The instructional framework there has the opening activity. It shows you materials needed, steps and processes to follow. Your mini lesson ideas that you're going to see here as you go through. It'll go through and it tells you what the mini lesson is for this one right here. Here's one of the mini lessons with teacher tips and things of that nature. So it goes through and gives you that mini lesson. Differentiated learning. You can show here scaffolding support, different ways you can scaffold, different ways you can have extended learning opportunities, ways that you can go beyond the book and reach higher and higher levels and push students, increasing rigor. It has all of those things available to you right there in the teacher's edition. The curated content board, as you see here, each unit's going to have its own curated content board, as well as you're going to have curated content board packets of these high quality, I think it's 8x10s of each one of these materials, where it goes through and it just has additional primary sources, additional images you can use for all sorts of things. Attention getting steps, you can use them for rotation based learning, you can use to extend and refine learning. I like to use them as wall decorations in the classroom when we're on that unit. There's a lot of different ways you can use that curated content. So that's a really neat feature that we've added in. Is not only do we have this digitally that's projectable, but with the class set, you also get the actual hard copies of them as well. The teaching tools, and this is what really takes Gallopade to the next level. Our books are wonderful. Our books are a core central component of our material, but the vast majority you're going to find in those teaching tools that go beyond the book. These are going to be things like you see on the screen here with your learning targets, interactive read alouds, projects, your study guides, internet links to additional research activities, internet links to other videos, vocab builder, analyzing primary sources, practice pages, writing prompts, graphic organizers, internal videos that we've made, map skill builders, but of course, your vocab quizzes and reviews. You're going to see your curated content, additional unit activities, and artistic expression, and many more. There are tons of different types of teaching tools that are available, over 24 types and hundreds for each grade. These are assignable both in digital and print format. It's really up to you. You get to decide what works in your classroom. Each of these are able to be done either digitally or they're able to be done as a reproducible to provide remediation, reinforcement, and extension and to dig deeper. That's what we designed it when we talk about Gallopade being everything from no tech to low tech to high tech to all tech. We have that capability with these tools to do that for you. As you see some sample pages here, these are the physical copies. These would be the print versions of them with the writing prompts, the vocab, a graphic organizer. And all of our graphic organizers are designed to be interactive notebook pages with the cut here, fold here, glue here. So you have that capability. They can still complete them online as well if you want to do it as a digital notebook. It has the interactive read aloud. I really like to use these interactive read alouds when I'm doing rotation and station based learning. And so that's what I do with those is I kind of have that for my higher group. I'm going through and I'm going to have them read, stop, and ask questions amongst their peers. For my middle group, I'm probably going to do more with like they're reading and I'm stopping and asking questions. For my low group, I might even be reading to them some and asking questions, focusing on listening skills. It just depends on the grade you're using them with and the skill level of the students, but you're able to differentiate that in that way. We have those unit activities, like right here, we have a map for them to use and answer questions about their study guide that prepares them for each of the expert track tests and project-based learning with the grading page that goes along with it. Now, there's different ways you can use these teaching tools. You can follow right down our guide, and when you get to this page, use it here as you go along the book, and each one, it tells you when to use it, or you can do things, mix things up. You might decide you want to do everything in the book and then do interactive choice boards where the students get to go through and, pick what they want to do. You might decide that this time I'm going to do a mini lesson format where we cover something projected up on the screen. Then one rotation's working on activities in the book. One rotation's working on a writing prompt. One rotation's working on a let's review. And one location is working on the vocab review. So they're able to rotate through those. Or you might do pure rotational model where one group is doing the whole group lesson with you. And then the other groups are using the writing prompt tool, the primary source analysis, the review page, and they're able just to rotate that way. So you're able to really customize your classroom to how you want to teach. This is the digital version of them. Many of them that are interactive. The writing prompt, we saw the print version, looks like a normal page. This is some screenshots of the digital versions. It kind of has those pre-filled fields where they can go in, type in, and put in their answers. There's an example of a writing prompt. We have an example of a primary source analysis here. And these could be completed digitally turned into you digitally, graded by you digitally. You can even leave feedback to the students on how they scored, what they need to do. You can decide that, hey, they didn't really do this. You can reassign it to them, or you could re-release the same page to them and have them go back and correct it. So you have that full interactivity, just like it was paper that you were able to hand back out to the students and say, complete this. Or if you wanted to give them another copy and say, do this, you can do that digitally with the teaching tools in this format. What we're going to look at next is our ExpertTrack testing and tracking. ExpertTrack has several different types of tests here. We have our checkpoints, our benchmarks, and our summatives. The checkpoints are kind of like our chapter tests. They go through each time. Now, these tests are designed to be quick formative assessments for the chapter, and to go through and assess learning very quickly, very rapidly, and still provide time if you need to reteach and recover things. These tests are 10, 15 minutes. Your benchmark tests, they're going to be longer. They're used to measure and document student progress. We have multiple of those already made, as well as summative tests. These are all pre-built. These are auto-graded. Every one of these pre-built assessments are auto-graded. They do provide reports by the standard, and they are printable. If you decided you wanted to do a printable version of them, they are printable as well. It's really up to how you want to do it. In addition, you can see here what we have in those is our technology enhanced questions. For all of our pre-built questions, they all use TEQs, which is technology enhanced questions, like placing things in this cause and effect flow chart there in the first one. Going clockwise around, there's where you're putting things into two categories there. There's another one around there where you're placing things in a flow chart. There's where you're labeling maps on the map. Going around to the Venn diagram, where you're actually placing things in the Venn diagram and filling out a table by placing those items directly in there. So you're able to go through and use these technology enhanced questions. We also have the build your own question, which is we have those pre-built assessments, but sometimes, you might want to build your own assessment. The district may decide that they want to create their own district-wide assessments, and those can be created and shared. The item bank is going to include all of those questions from the student edition, pre-built assessments, vocab quizzes, tons of questions that are put into that item bank. Also, there are additional questions that we've built that are just exclusive to the item bank. When you go through, you can search by standard usage. You can search by what type of question you're looking for, the depth of knowledge level. You can look for keyword. You can search by grade, and many, many more ways. You can go through and search on how to build those. The neat new feature that we've added is you can also modify those questions or create your own questions. This is really good if you have students that you need to differentiate a test for, such as limited choice, things like that. You're able to go through and do that. You're able to make those modifications to that test. And you're also able to create your own questions you build in. I know in my classroom, I always like to sometimes throw a little fun question in there, like, what did Mr. Farmer wear yesterday? So, you have the ability to go in and create your own questions and modify those questions that are there. Another fun thing is that you can share those with your team, with your district, with your school. You can share out the tests that you make so that others can use those and have that resource available to them. This is really helpful in the event that, if the school or the district or a whole grade or all wanting in a district are all wanting to stay kind of on the same assessment schedule, you're able to do that and assess along the way with those. If you wanted to make quarterly assessments, or if you wanted to have 9 weeks testing, you have the ability to go to where you left off at that 9 weeks and stop there, and then search for the standards that cover that and just assess up to that point. So you have that ability to modify and create your own. The online curriculum, as we've seen components of so far, you've seen the testing, you've seen the teaching tools. It's really designed to be an engaging and comprehensive digital core curriculum. That's what it's built to be, and it covers all of the standards. It's an all-in-one platform that for teachers to be able to have complete digital instruction. This even works if you have to go to distance learning, anything like that. If you have, in the event of bad weather and students are having to stay home, if there's bad weather, inclement weather. We had a local school here, my son's high school, destroyed by a tornado. They were able to continue on with Gallopade for the remainder of the school year. So you're able to use this online platform in that way. Students interact with the materials just like they would in the classroom. It's just a digital version of those materials. We do integrate with most single sign-on systems, Clever, ClassLink, Canvas, Google Classroom. We have the ability to push assignments out through Canvas. We have the ability to push assignments out through Google Classroom, works through Schoology, and many more. So we have that full integration that you need and that you're looking for. The complete digital sources, the complete course covers all of those resources. You can assign it to a whole class. You can assign it to groups. You can create your own groups. You can assign it to those. You can pick individual students. And it's very important to us that it does meet all UDL requirements. And the resources can be searched by standard. They can be searched by chapter. They can be searched by unit. You can go through and search those resources, but they're also put in a very orderly way, kind of like a file folder system. So you're going to have your main class. Underneath your main class, you're going to have everything that's it, all the units will be listed. Underneath each unit, you're going to have all the unit materials and then a folder for each of the chapters. Underneath of those chapter folders, you're going to have all of those components that go along with that chapter to really make it easy to find, and easy to use and easy to work with. We like to have that neat, streamlined approach. In the reporting dashboard here, as you can see, it's very easy to see. It's color coded. It tells if the students are developing, if they're meeting, or if they're exceeding the standard. You can go through and you can look at this by assignment. You can look at it by student. You can break it down in lots of different ways. You can look at it as an overall class. You can compare students to one another. You can go into an assignment and do an item analysis report where you're able to go through and look for error patterns, possibly things that need to be targeted for reteaching. You have that capability to go and quickly see what needs to be covered further, what students have mastered. You're able to go through and monitor their usage and completion. If you're using online components, online tools, you can even see how long they were on there. You can go through and see how much time they spent on it. It also has the ability to print and export this reporting data. It also has the ability to take this data for direct to gradebook import. So you're able to transfer that material over to your gradebook. You see here is an example of the item analysis report. So it goes through and it shows how the students did on each question. It shows the correct answer. And then you can see there, for instance, on the first question, we notice there's a lot of A's there when the correct answer was B. So we know that there's probably some sort of gap there that we need to cover, something that they might have connected with in a wrong way. So we know we go through and we spot an error pattern like that. We can go through and correct that early on before it becomes part of their schema and their understanding of the subject. We're able to correct that quickly. Here's another one's for the standards mastery overview that you see, where you can go through and it'll show you if you want to pull up by the standard. It gives the average here for each student, how they've done. It tells the overall average of your class, how they're performing on each standard, as well as it shows how each individual student is performing on the standard. So you can really look at standards mastery as well. The most important thing with Gallopade for us is that you use us, you love us, you know how to use it, you know how that you're supported by us. And our partnership goes way beyond the classroom. Our experts are always available to help you with anything, with training, support tips, navigating tools, teaching tips, resources. We want you to be successful. That's our goal. We're not looking at partnering just this one cycle. We're looking at cycle after cycle for adoption. You're like, hey, we love Gallopade. We know how to use it. We want to make sure that you're using it to the best you can. And so therefore, we're always offering support, training, tips. We have support at Gallopade.com. You can actually chat live online with someone. You'll have your trainer's contact information to reach out to. We provide in-person training, and this is all at no additional cost. It's built into the adoption. That's what we want to do, is that we want to make sure that you know how to use this stuff really well, that you're able to be successful with everything. Now, we've talked a lot about the materials. We've looked at the different ways they can be used. We've kind of done a quick overview. The next step that we're going to follow is we're going to go into the system and do a bit of a live view. This is your main teacher dashboard when you log in. You're going to see several widgets here that you can change out, but these are sort of the default ones where it's going to show your courses and which classes you teach. You're going to see anything that needs grading. You can have a quick view of your students' performance, and you could go straight into individual students from here. So you kind of have that default view at the beginning. Let's take a look now when we go from the main dashboard into the course. We're going to start by looking at world history here. At the beginning, in the course intro, in every subject, in the course intro section, you're going to have these tools here. You're going to see, for instance, the state standards here. So this is going to show you the standards and the expectations for learning. It's going to show you the primary area of instruction as well as any other integrated chapters that it's taught in. So it goes through and shows you for each one. If it's primarily taught here in chapter 5, but it's also integrated in these other chapters. So it has that capability. The next thing we're going to look at is the pacing guide. The pacing guide shows you the subject being taught, how long you're going to spend on it. It's going to go through, tell you the chapters of the book, the standard that's addressed, the benchmark alignment, all of that. And there's semester 1 here, and it goes on to semester 2. And these tools are going to be the same for every subject. From there, we're going to go into looking at teaching across the curriculum. Now, we mentioned that Gallopade covers a wide variety of standards in other subjects beyond social studies. For instance, here are some ways that you can integrate math. And all of these in the purple here are math integrations. Stuff that teachers can do, stuff that you can have the students do for all of these various math integrations. You could also jump over here and look at ELA integrations. It has ELA connections all the way through the text in this blue screen here. It has all of these ELA connections. So it goes through and it shows you how it can connect to math, how it connects to ELA, how it can connect to a variety of other subjects. It shows those connections. That's in the teaching across the curriculum section. The next thing we're going to do, we've looked at the course introduction. There's an expert track here. Also, if we go down to the bottom at the end of year resource, we're going to see that there is expert track tests. These are these extra yearful accessible assessments. So you're able to assign these out and it covers all of the standards for the year. So if we look right here and go into, say, this assessment here, we'll look at the question types. Now, here's one where they're actually going to be dragging things down and putting them in place in the chart. They're going to go through each of these. Here's one where they're actually, again, placing things. These are technology enhanced questions, or TEQs. We also have your traditional choose 1, choose 2, and choose 3 questions, or choose all that apply, such as this one. So we have varied question types where they're labeling maps by dropping them directly onto the map, placing things into tables, lots of question formats that you're able to go through and see. Now, we've kind of looked at some of the main tools that exist within every chapter, are those introductory tools and those year-end tools. Let's now dive a little deeper, and we're going to look into a specific chapter within the book, and that was within each subject. Now, we're going to look at a specific chapter. So what we want to do is we want to kind of go in, and we'll take a look at, for instance, we'll say we'll go with Unit 7, Ancient Greece, Chapter 22. Units, there's Unit 6, which is Middle East, and it has the chapters that are listed there. It has the project-based learning, all of the components. If we go down to Unit 7, this is going to show you everything that's in Unit 7. It's going to have your curated content board, as well as it's going to have the different chapters here that apply. So if we go from there and we take a look at Unit 7, Chapter 22, when we go in, you're going to see, starting off, you're going to have your learning targets in that chapter. These are your learning targets, and every chapter starts off with the learning targets, and it has those. You can assign those out digitally. I like to project them and go over them at the beginning, but I also like to have them out digitally. Some teachers like to make a hard copy of this and have this be in their binder. So that's just a fun thing you can do right there to have that right off the bat. It's interesting. The kids know exactly what they're supposed to be learning and how they're supposed to be learning it right off the bat. Now, beyond the book itself, we talk about all these other tools. In the teacher's edition, there are mini lessons, and sometimes they require additional components or additional things beyond that. So those additional things are available right here. You can assign them out to the students. You can do start date, end date. You can pick who you assign it to. Some students, all students. There are additional settings beyond that. You can place the category and the content weight. You can randomize things, randomize choices, randomize question order, lots of ways. That's on your testing or any of your components when you make an assignment. If we want to take a look at this actual mini lesson, this is just a Venn diagram that goes along with the mini lesson. So we provided you with that support and that material. So you would have that there. And that's just within any mini lesson. If there are additional things needed in the teacher edition, it'll show them to you here. There are practice pages. We have graphic organizers that you can complete. Now, these are designed, all of the graphic organizers are designed to be interactive notebook pages. So it has the cut here, fold here, glue here, and this is kind of an extension based upon that mini lesson we saw earlier. So they're able to cut and make interactive notebook pages with this. We also have, beyond graphic organizers, we have literacy pieces for extending and refining learning. We have project-based learning, right, as you can see here, where it gives you the instructions on how to do the project, as well as it has the grading page that goes along with the project. So you have the project itself and you have the grading page that goes along with it. So you're able to see the project and interact. You can print that off. You can assign that out digitally. Any of these can be assigned out digitally. We mentioned graphic organizers. We do have map skill builders that are built in. In these map skill builders, it's just additional activities to strengthen their map skills. And so this right here is a digital map assignment where they're actually using digital maps. And that's your map skill builders. There are other types of tools you might see. Beyond that, you can see the project, the graphic organizers, map skill builders. We do have internet links that connect to additional places to do research or additional videos. We have the interactive workbook. We have the vocab quiz that you can assign out, and it's your traditional vocab quiz. So you'll see the vocabulary, and it'll go through. You answer. They provide the answer there, and it is self-graded. I like to start out right off the bat. To be honest, what I do is I use this printable version of the vocab builder. I 3-hole punch it. We put it in the front of their binder, and that's going to be something we use to help with summarizers. I use that in conjunction with the study guide, which is at the end here. And I go into the study guide, and I like to take it and 3-hole punch it and also stick it in their binder. Then at the end of class each day, I have a built-in summarizer. I can say, all right, everybody back at your desk, here's what we're going to do. What can we define on the vocab today? And I'm going to project that on screen, and we're going to come up with a consensus answer. What can I answer on the study guide today? And I'm going to project that on the screen, and we're going to come up with a consensus answer for it. So that way, by the end of the chapter, they have a complete vocab and study guide to help them prepare for the end of the chapter. So we have lots of different tools that are available within each chapter, and each chapter is a little different. This is taking a look. There it goes all the way to the end of the year resources. I'm showing the side navigation. So these are some of the types of tools. We'll look at some of the other grades, and we'll be able to see some tools there as well. So if we go over and look at civics and government, when we go into civics and government, it's the same thing, the course introduction. It's going to have those same components that we saw before. But we're going to actually look inside one of the chapters now instead of repeating kind of those same things. We're going to look right here and we're going to look in Unit 3, and we're going to go to, say, Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is we have rights. Now there's extended learning activities that you can assign out. These are sort of some higher order activities. If you want to push students higher, it has that capability to use those extended learning activities. As you see here, these are an activity in addition to the amendments. We also have there the project, the graphic organizer, learning pages. Every chapter is a little different, as I said. We also have, I wanted to mention and show a little bit about some of our financial literacy here. You're going to see about U.S. financial systems, and you're also going to see the international economy. So if we go right here, there's a writing prompt. You can assign that out digitally, or you can put them on the print format so they can do it physically. It's really up to you, however you want to do it. So that's a quick look there at that financial literacy, all of the tools that are there in that chapter. We could go to the end, look at the Holocaust education section. The Holocaust education section has the curated content boards, just like any other unit does. And then it also has the individual items like the vocab builder, the map skill builder, lots of mini lesson activities built within this. So they're able to go through the mini lessons, the interactive read aloud, the let's learn, extended learning activities, a lot of things that go beyond the book. So that's kind of a look here at civics and government. We could also go back and take a look lastly at U.S. history. We'll look at a couple of sample chapters here. We'll go into Unit 3. In Unit 3, you're going to see the American Revolution, and we'll go from Unit 3, we'll go to chapter, I don't know, 10. How about that? Now, here it shows your learning targets again. It's going to have a digital version of the student book. Now, in the digital student book, I do want to cover this. It's going to show, just like the student book, the big question. This is interactive. They can complete it online. It has the capability with any piece. You can choose your answers there. You can turn those in, submit those in. With any section, you also have the capability here to listen to it spoken out loud or translate it into a variety of languages. So you have that listen and translate ability within the student book, or with any of these activities. We have that listen and translate ability. So that's just kind of a quick overview of a little bit here within the book itself. If we were to go down, we'll go down to Unit 7, And from Unit 7, we'll go into 23 and 24. We'll go to 24 here. If you look at Unit 24, you'll see here in the tools, there's writing prompts, there's review pages, vocab builders, there's internet activities. There's all sorts of things here that are available. So that's just a quick look at the chapters and how this interacts and how this works. This is just a quick view of the report screen. You're going to be able to see the widgets that you have in place here, like student progress monitoring, standard progress monitoring. You can see your favorite reports listed here, your standards mastery overview, and from these, you can go in further to these reports. Let's take a look at the standards mastery overview. In this report, you're going to have a matrix here that's going to show all of your students, and it's going to show how they've mastered each standard all the way down. So you'll be able to see, and it's color coded here, whether they're developing on the standard, whether they've met the standard, whether they've exceeded the standard. You're able to go through and look at that and tell how the students are doing on a student by student basis. From this screen, you can also click on an individual student. If you're meeting with a parent or something, you just want to show that student, you can click on an individual student and go further into detail on that individual student. We also have another type of report I'd like to showcase here, and that is the item analysis report. I really like to look at these after we've done an expert track test assignment such as that, so I can go through and see how the overall class did on each individual question. So I see here this question 1, we had a 50% rate, which means there could be some reteaching needed there. Whereas I see on other ones, we have a much higher success rate as an overall class. You can see by question, you can see by class, you can see any way you need to examine it and look at it. So it's really neat to be able to go through and take a look at all of these pieces in this item analysis in this matrix like this. This is the reports view we've looked at, and there are multiple types of reports, but that's just a quick view to go through and look at the reports that we have available. I wanted to cover one more thing too in the student report here. You also have a section of students. This right here is where your students are. You could go to your individual students here and looking at how each individual student is doing. You see here it has the student's name, their overall average, what their status is. It also has this message center here. So this is an internal messaging center that you can send things back and forth. So it's a really great tool for being able to interact with your students. And that's just a quick look at the report viewer and how the reports work. There are a couple of dashboard features I wanted to highlight here at the end that I didn't mention earlier. One is the notification pane that you see at the top there that notifies you of any events or anything that's coming up. Another, we talked about the chat function. This is another place you can go into the chat function and live chat with students. We also have our translation tool built in, where you can go through and translate anything from Afrikaans all the way down to Zulu. So we're going to take a look at Haitian Creole. When you go in and you change it, it changes the dashboard. It changes all of the language, all of the search capability. Everything is translated here into Haitian Creole or whatever language you select. It also translates the materials themselves into these languages. So it really has a great translation capability to be able to reach every student. I'm going to exit out of that for the moment, and we're going to look at one last piece, and that is the My Content piece. In the My Content section, this is where you can create your own assessments, build your own assessments, pull in assessments that are pre-made and edit and adapt them as needed. You also can add your own resources, and you can write your own questions here. You can actually make technology enhanced questions just like you see in the expert track test. You can do that here as well and add that in. So a lot of neat features to the dashboard. For this next section, I just wanted to show that we covered all the things that are in the rubric. We covered a lot of these over the course of the previous sections, but I did want to lay those out for you. Versus you sitting and listening to me read this rubric out piece by piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it and allow each slide to sit for about 5 seconds and then go on to the next one. That way you can pause and take a look if you need to without eating up a lot of time. In conclusion, Gallopade is a 100% standards aligned, full year curriculum with no gaps. We use evidence based, proven methods to reach students and help them achieve mastery. We motivate students and keep them engaged. Gallopade provides teachers with all that they need to teach and differentiate lessons throughout the year. Gallopade can be used in classrooms that are all tech, high tech, low tech, or no tech. We make it easier for testing with pre-built assessments and the ability for teachers to create their own assessments. Gallopade supports teachers with ongoing training and support, and Gallopade makes successful teaching easier. Thank you for your time today.